Here's the issue, though. There are two trains of thought that coexist, and they're used depending on how convenient it is in an argument. And one of them is that um, the gender dysphoria is real and must be treated with puberty blockers, affirmation therapy, and or surgery if somebody chooses. The other train of thought is that this depends on how you define it, and these definitions are not, it's hard to ever actually narrow down a definition of what it means to identify as the other gender. And those who basically say that you can identify as anything and your identity is real and you exist as that, they also say that, well, being transgender is not, it's not a dysphoria. It's not a
Uh,
mental condition. So
hmm.
both you have a train of thought of, yeah, dysphoria is real, but you also say dysphoria is not required for somebody to go in for surgery, because you have
Yeah.
people saying that, well, these people go in for extensive psychological evaluation. But at the same time, I believe it got delisted. I don't know what the actual term for, I think the DSM 5 or 6 or whatever number they're on,
Mm.
they have removed transgenderism as a mental condition.
Oh, okay.
So this is why you can see in conversations people get a little bit upset or triggered even mentioning the mental health side of
Yeah.
it, even though it is strongly correlated with all these other mental health conditions that go
Yeah.
alongside. The fact
Because
that they're saying that it's not, it means, well, that, how do you navigate that?
because they'll probably say that it's it can't be a mental condition or a, anything viewed as potentially like a weakness or a or any sort of negative connotation, because they'll say, I'm sure, is that they've always been transgender. They were always in the wrong body. And you might even hear people love to do this who are proponents of gender ideology. They love to talk out of both sides of their mouth and say things like, um, we always knew little Timmy was actually a girl because when Timmy was young, she always liked to play with, girls' toys. Timmy always liked to play with dolls and makeup and stuff. So when Timmy was 12, we transitioned him to a her. That's because we always knew. But then at the same time, they'll say, if a little girl, a biological girl, plays with the dolls and the makeup and the other traditionally stereotypically girls things, that was because society conditioned her to like those things.
Is that the
So
patriarchy in action
yeah,
causing the girls to play with
the
dolls?
the
Like,
childhood patriarchy in action. Yeah. So it, I don't know. To me, that seems like a contradiction. It feels like it has to be one or the other. But but the point is, if you view it that way, then what you're actually doing is you're viewing uh the somebody's gender as equivalent to maybe something like the soul or some other sort of metaphysical, spiritual um, conception of what it means to be a person. So in that case, how can it be a dysphoria, or how can it be, uh, you know, anything related to a
it's
treatable mental
unfalsifiable.
condition? If it's a treatable mental condition, then that means it can't be your identity, I suppose.
Yeah, and any idea of a gendered soul is unfalsifiable, and
Hmm.
you can't prove or disprove. It's based on how somebody feels.
Yeah.
So you touched on a couple key points of the difference between when you define this. Is it a way that you feel? Is it a way that you act? Is it a, like, what does it mean to identify me as a biological man? If I identify as a woman, well, what does that actually mean? Um, am I doing the things that women do? Am I presenting as a woman? So these secondary sex characteristics. When I say I feel like a woman, well, what is that feeling? Are we talking about the big five personality traits? Am I low on assertiveness? And do I look inward and say that my personality more resembles these traditionally feminine? If we observe the population, we can observe like masculine and feminine, in quotes, like traits. They're just more commonly represented in males versus females. So
Yeah.
our whole notion of what it means to look or feel or even behave as a woman is still tied to these biological averages
Mm-hmm.
throughout the population. And I've yet to get a really good definition. Um, you'll ask activists or just somebody who has bought into this, and you start going through this, and at some point they're just going to say, well, they are a woman because they feel like a woman.
Yeah, a
And
woman
that's their
is
identity.
whoever identifies as a woman, right? Yeah. They
And
can't
if
they
you,
can't make the definition not contain the word woman, basically. So it becomes self-referential and begs the question, basically.
yeah, circular definitions don't really give you anything to, you don't gain anything more from that
Mm.
definition. You still are no closer to understanding what a woman is if the definition of a woman is the identity of a woman.
Yeah.
Like what characteristics
Yeah.
are under there? And then
What
if,
characteristics and what of those characteristics are not just a stereotype?
yeah. So are we going backwards if we're just tying these ideas of these identity, like an identity of woman to stereotypes? Are we further limiting our ideas of what women should do or the way women are based on reinforcing these older stereotypes?